I don't need or want a girlfriend because I don't need or want a martyr. I think I should discuss how it came to pass that somebody as intelligent as me, with a number of potentials, could be wrecked by peers deliberately and abandoned the way Gaza has been abandoned by the world. Not even South Africa stuck up for me. They were too busy piling on. Part of it is that I was selected at a place called the Ruskin near the University of Pittsburgh by a gang of black people in the union working with white strategists in the union, which my parents were included. I was introduced to a man named Nathan, which is the name of another man, a chain of men, who Ralph Proctor discusses as liking to knock white boys out. It may surprise people that the reason why I stood withstood so much abuse as a child, torture, was because King would lionize that it was wrong to attack innocent people. And the people who wanted to stop that sort of activity need to learn to endure it. Of course, when I found out that other people were affected, I grew very angry. But Proctor speaks out against Martin Luther King in his book because of the bellicose idea of chivalry for women and children, which is nice and everything. But it becomes a rallying point of bluster for black bigots to get together with white bigots and run down someone who they torture. And simple enough why they tortured me. I was promising. I was frail as a child, so I was weak. I was taught not to use weapons or fight by a mother who was intensely authoritarian and in those days a drunk. Used to dream of pouring her whiskey bottles out. Now, Thorles of Nazi England, who was pulling strings when I was a child, he knew that James McRyland Creary was of the Kennedy royal class set to inherit standing in the University of Pittsburgh, where my father was chair of philosophy of education. My father gave me his medals. They were stolen along with my coin collection and stamp collection. And I was battered. And the reason they did this was because they say I was too good for them. I thought I was better than us and so on. And Thorles justified an Attica State Prison psychiatrist running neurohypnosis, battering me, slaughtering blows, and making me semi conscious and taking me hostage in stolen cars so that his chain gang could weaponize innuendos about the subject and set me up with street black people who have absolutely no shame when it comes to poisoning me in the mouth, for example. I mean, I wouldn't kiss a girl now because of what they did to my gums. I had a tooth extracted yesterday. No, they have no shame. They don't even disguise that they were self inflicting to be weapons in genocide, suicide soldiers in genocide, so they could terrorize a white. They don't even hide it. I mean, they rip or murdered a girl. Look at Tupac. They got even with a white girl when it was not turned out to be another black man who was behind it. I mean, they don't. This is the West Coast, baby. That's what they do. But it's also more important. It's to understand, of course, that the production system was involved. None of the cars were actually stolen. It was a Hollywood gangster situation with a script. They hardwired my brain. You can see the neurotrauma. They call themselves PIT, like Pit of Hell, and CMU for Church Military Union. And they set up a whole network with the help of Yoko Ono. Look at Watergate. That was about spying and illegal wiretaps. And supposedly the left was all, oh, you're not supposed to do that. But Robert Fripp and Yoko Ono do it plenty. They were pulling genocide peep on a 9-year-old. Horrible things they did. Adult cruelty for sexual gratification to a child. And they covered it up with revenge stories for the Japanese, Zionism experimenting in logotherapy, and Penis Gabriel's ESP about human brotherhood and so on. And it was all networked. They played a prank on a neuroplasm. There was a book called The Exorcist, and one time I read it, I don't know, it must have had a phantom copy because I've never seen this line again, but I read this sentence to the effect that Carl was a master of taunting people. And it's interesting because Pope Carl, lived across the street from me, and that's exactly what he was from Central Catholic, an expert at taunting people. And the little foreign English kid who said he was going to start getting nasty in Billy Rod's presence, walking towards where Edward Eisen lived. King Edward's Pison lived. Pison Door. Obviously signified, as Elizabeth Blumenfeld did, that I was marked by Ralph Tive and Milton Schaap as suspected Kennedy progressive. So they decided to torture me, use me as a golem, terrorize me, and example me as extermination point. And they had it all networked. Because when you're rejected that way and you're taunted that way, you want to understand. I mean, I was deaf. Nobody showed me ever any one word of sympathy for my business, ever once. They refused to teach me sign language. They ran around a school bus recklessly in a van and tried to make me out as the driver, and I was furious. It was like a lead up to Gaza. I was absolutely furious. And they kept me out of the school for the deaf. And when someone came along and bucked the union line, taught me signs so I'd go back to school in old age after Penis Gabriel had me castrated with Biden for nothing. Because of Robert Fripp's overly precious claim that virginity proved rape because Toya Wilcox floated away from him in the Ouija pool when he said my name. They had it all set up to laugh about the way that the crybaby cried when he's rejected. And they had things like my grandpappy's crowd. Bob Woodward? It's like Dear Wormwood. The screw tape letters that they sent me, it was all Daniel Ellsberg together, psychiatry, secret tape, psychiatry, break-in psychiatry, secret tape, break-in psychiatry, fourth tongue, he pees with fourth prong. They lanced my pecker, so the urine came out in two different directions. He pees with fourth prong. They started throwing a fork in the road when I grew up. There's a fork in the road, queer bait, when they put together the AIDS attack. So I was just an innocent person being used in a production company. But it's very interesting that Thorles wants to be considered the king of the production company. I'll put on your royal robes. Hats off to Thorles. You're welcome to take credit for torturing a brilliant, getting Cersei Kennedy killed. Wonderful. Take the credit for it, Thorles.